Welcome back to another episode on Singles Capital. This is your girl Lex, and I have our special guest today, Dr. Cunningham. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How
are
you?
So beautiful.
Thank you.
And I have my co-host Leo.
Yep.
That guy. And we have Deshane, Mystery Man.
What's up?
All right. So this is a special guest of ours. Where are you from?
I'm from Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
Yeah, but I also grew up in like different parts of the South for like, a few years.
Okay.
And then, so I would say, but I lived in New York from I was born till I was 11, 12, and just lived down south in other areas. Yeah.
Okay.
So I would say I a little bounced around.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right. And what field you're in?
I am a doctorate in therapy. Specifically mental health therapy, and I provide individual counseling services, group services, consultation, and all of those therapeutic services in the states of Florida and also Louisiana.
Okay, nice. And how long you been in your field?
I've been in my field for almost 5.5 years. I would say, approaching 6 years. I would say actually in August will make 6 years.
Do you always get like, are you really a doctor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I get the because I'm young.
Yes.
Yeah, I do. I would say like ageism is a thing, especially for women. Where it's like, you're really, really young. How could that be true? Like, or they'll say like a doctor and what? And, I don't take offense to any of it.
Yeah.
I even joke and say like, when I have kids in the future, like, I know it's going to be funny if like, they'll ask me like, Mom, you're a doctor, but you don't fix people like that. Like, you're not that type of doctor. I always joke and say like, it's always the nuances and like people being surprised, but I don't take any offense to it, and I don't feel any way correcting anyone either about what I do, and that I earned my PhD in counseling, education, and supervision and therapy. So
my question is, when you get things like that, when they question your age, do you ever think to like maybe dress older, wear some gray wigs or anything like that? Nothing like that.
Gray wigs, y'all. Not the gray.
Not the gray wigs. That hasn't been my outfit of choice. But I definitely am at work. I'm a therapist in a school.
Okay.
So full time. So at work, I really do take pride. Yeah, I try to like dress myself up for sure. And it sucks, but I feel like I have to do that because I'm young and I have to present myself in a certain stature so that I receive, people believe in like what I'm doing and, what I have to bring, what I'm offering and, my service. So, yeah, it sucks that I have to do that because sometimes I'm just like, whew, if I could wear some things that I see other people wearing, I would be breezing, not spending all this money on these blazers. Yes. But yeah.
And I seen her in the blazers. She looks nice in them blazers. Okay, so let's get into it.
Well, before you get into that,
okay.
Are you single or are you taken?
I'm taken.
Okay, great. Okay.
Do it. So, being a Black therapist, what do you think are relationships' biggest struggles besides communication? Because we know that's like the most common response.
Besides communication, what are relationships' biggest struggles?
Yes.
I would say, I believe a lot of people aren't really being honest about, I wouldn't say expectations. I don't like to use the word expectations. I like to say sometimes people might love the idea of someone, but I think sometimes they struggle with compatibility. And I believe a struggle that a lot of relationships have is that a lot of people aren't searching for compatibility, but instead they're looking for things they feel like are check marks to what society says you need to, okay, this man or this woman has to have this, and that, based on what, societal norms are, or what they say about relationships and what are considered successful relationships. But in reality, I believe we should, in general, people in relationships, yes, you deserve to have standards, right? And you deserve to have some form of expectations. But I feel as though that those expectations or standards should be explained. And then more importantly, what are you searching for? Because for me, when I think about compatibility, I think about people having the same path or the same goals, the same desires in life. They want the same things at that moment. Maybe in, a few years those things will change, but in general, how they plan their lives together is about, being on the same path or wanting the same things, and, sharing those ambitions and goals, whatever those things may be. But I think that a lot of people focus more so on what societal norms say a relationship should be and those check marks. And then I feel like when you get into a relationship and you're not honest or talking to your partner about your expectations, then a lot of times this person is just loving you how they see fit they should love you, instead of like the things that you really feel you want to be satisfied in this relationship, or feel like this relationship is moving in the right direction that you want. But I feel in general, sometimes, I fall victim to it. We're on Instagram and we see certain things and we're like, ooh, or oh my gosh. But I think in reality, when people first search for compatibility, it's a more honest conversation that you all are able to have with each other. So, for example, if I say I want kids in my future and I want to build a life, and maybe the person I'm with is telling me like, yeah, I might want that, but in honest reality, I can't really see that in my path for right now. I think sometimes a struggle might be like, okay, well, he said, or she said, not right now, but maybe in the future. When in reality, maybe you're not compatible with that person because you all just don't want the same things in the same lifetime, or how you all are trying to build a life together. And I think those are things we have to focus on and like pay attention to in relationships when we're talking or like dating each other. So that way we can kind of gauge like, okay, is this something that's going to work out for me? Communication, I know that's always one that everyone wants to talk about, but I feel like there's bigger things that are happening in relationships, why they're not working, or why they're not considered successful. And I really would say just kind of like stepping aside from societal norms, having standards, and being open and honest and having those discussions with that person about what you expect, but also trying to see if you all are even compatible.
Yeah.
So my question is, how do you separate from society norms? Like, because it's everywhere, right? You're going to go on Instagram, or you pick up your phone, you're going to see a certain type of thing where you're going to see a guy's doing something for a woman, or a woman is being treated a certain way. So how do you separate yourself from that, so that way you can come up with your own kind of brain wave patterns of what you want and what your expectations are?
Oh, okay. I would say asking yourself, what do you value in a relationship? Or just what do you value in your core values? How would you want to be loved, treated? What is your love language? How do you feel your partner should, feed that soul, or feed your, that union you all are building together? And then societal things, yes, they're nice, right? Which is like wanting to make sure that you have certain, like I said, certain standards, and if marriage is in your future, it's something that you want, speaking about those things and being honest, right? But I also believe that you shouldn't feel like you have to want those things because those things are considered valuable to others. If that is not a value to you, if that is not a priority for you, like if you list all of your I need these things in a relationship and that just isn't the priority for you, if it's not the end all be all, I just believe that it's something you can separate from what society is telling you you should want, or what you should do, or how your relationship should be. And I just believe that that's a kind of way where you can kind of like figure out, make a list, what are some things that are considered like valuable to you in a relationship? How do you want to be loved? What's your love language? And making sure that person can, you know, provide that for you, and then separating what isn't valuable to you or a high priority from you when it comes to those societal norms, whatever those things may be.
I definitely agree with you. I think you highlighted the biggest thing that I think not even like it's just a woman thing or a man thing. I think we all struggle with just trying to know ourselves enough before going into that relationship. And then coming back to what you're saying, because nobody gives their like they don't really know what they like. So when they come in there, they get this facade of what other people like, and they make it their own. And then when they go into this relationship, I'm supposed to get a Birkin bag, I'm supposed to get this, and it's like,
ooh, child. Do you have any money to put in that Birkin bag?
Listen, so it's like you want all these things, and I want to go to 5-star restaurants
and Bora Bora on the second, third
day, and it's like, you not dating Drake. Like, this is not reality. And don't kill me, ladies, but it's not reality.
No shade to those ladies. We love those ladies.
Yes. And if you have it, you got it.
And if that's the lifestyle you live and you could attain that, we're not talking to you.
Yeah, but on an average and a normal base, I think sometimes it's just like, as you're dating someone, you have to fish out what's priority. And sometimes you got to take some else. Like, he don't have this, but I could work with that. He has majority of what I like and what I love.
Yeah. For example, I think that, you know, some people that just have hard nose, right?
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the hard nose. I'm just saying in general, like, be realistic with yourself, and just be realistic in general. So, for example, I think that, you know, when I was in my 20s, I would always say, like, you know, I'm not dating a guy that has kids, right? Because I'm in college, I'm doing my thing, you know, I'm getting my master's, whatever. And by the time I hit 30, I had to tell myself the likelihood of you meeting a person that doesn't have a kid in their 30s / going into their 40s is very slim, honey. Yes. So, you know, being more open-minded and kind of opening up that like pool of like, okay, what are some things that I just have to, you know, that might have been a hard no for me, but you know, as I'm getting older, because my age have changed and, you know, my pool is different, you know, what am I willing to say? Okay, that's obviously a no when it comes to like certain things, but like, you know, a person having a one child, like, okay, like I can relax.
Hey, I don't like the way you said one, because I had two at once. You know,
no,
2 for
twins
1.
Are not. They're twins.
Yeah, they're
twins. So cute. Why do people always say that when you're like? Oh? I feel like that is just. Like, that is not the same. You know, like we're talking two different kids, 2 different mothers. You know, that's not. We're not talking about twins. Okay,
wait, now you're trying to get slide. Now they're all trying to get slide.
Listen. No.
Mystery man trying to get slide, y'all.
Please. I don't mean to. He like, hey. All right, I love that though. Like, advocate for yourself.
Yes. But no, I agree with you, because I had the same thing, like reality hit when I hit my 30s, and I was like, oh, I don't want no man who got any kids. And it's just like, well, let's make it make sense here. Like, I'm going to have to be digging in this bag, and it's going to take me a while. And then I have also requirements that I put as well in these bags. So it's like, am I really going to find this man who's going to meet my requirements and not have no kids and have the money that I'm asking? Like, like I'm asking maybe too much.
It's so funny you say that, because I'm remembering, like, there was one moment I talking to my like sisters and my cousins and girlfriends, and like we all having this thing of like, you know, just in listening to different dating experiences and that's been happening with everyone, we all joke a lot about how we think it's so weird if like a man is like 50 and is like not a father. I think that is to me,
that's
I know. I'm sorry. I'm coming for y'all. But I just feel like no one trusts you to be the father of their child at your big age. Like I feel like that's a red flag. That's a bit concerning to me. And I know,
like, how do you dodge all these bullets?
I'm not judging at all because obviously, you know, my profession and who I am, like I'm just having a moment of like, you know, but I think that it can always work both ways. And you know, sometimes people focus so much on like, oh, having kids, but I think, and that being like a red flag, but I feel like also like, I'm also looking at the guy that's like 50 something. I'm like, not one.
Because listen, if it came to the point where now we're looking, and this is why we changed, like I feel like a lot of women change just to make these exceptions, because we see there's so many men who have kids at 20, you know, 20, 30, we, you know, 18 too, but you know, they have them young too. So it's like, you made it to 50. So I get it. You know what I'm saying? You're not saying like it's the biggest red flag, but it's just something like, cause I'm like, nobody got you. Like I remember I was dating a doctor at one point, and he's like, oh, I'm for. Nobody got. What's wrong with you? What you?
You automatically
like it's just like I'm gonna have to, it's not saying something's wrong, but I'm gonna have to.
I get it.
I gotta double check these boxes, because sometimes it tells on themselves whether they have, you know, mommy issues or whatever issues. Like I'm not saying he had that, but I'm just saying like it. Sometimes there's issues there.
Sometimes there's things in the background that it's almost kind of like, oh. Okay, I see why you may still be single.
Yes.
So what is the age that where it's like, oh, you should have had kids by now? Because you said 50, you said 45. So
no. Mine was like, you're a doc. It's like,
well, he was 45.
Somebody gonna try to get.
I can give you the age. I can give you a straight answer.
Okay, give us a straight answer.
30.
30? Why are you coming for us right now? 30?
I want to say 30.
So 30?
I wouldn't say 30.
I wouldn't say 30, because you have to remember some people.
36.
I like that.
I like that too.
He said 36. I would say 40.
40 to me. Dot?
Oh yeah, because I feel like the only reason I would say 40 is because I like the times are different now.
Yeah.
And just how, you know, as we're looking and seeing a lot of men and women are having children, you know, later on in age. So I would say 40 is like what's happening.
Yeah. I'm kind of close to that number. I gave the grace of 45 and below. That's all I got.
So he's 44 with no kids. He's not weird to you.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying he's not weird. I'm gonna give it past 45, but don't get me wrong.
But he's slightly weird at 45.
It's like a little bit like, how you got away?
It's like I'm looking at you, JT, sideways.
Yeah,
like you know when she's like, got me looking at me sideways. Like it's
I'm
just a little. It's not
here.
saying that the person is weird. Not at all. It's just like
I'm gonna double check.
What's
I wanna
going
make
on
sure.
there? Yeah.
I'm not gonna take on, and that's the biggest thing. I think nobody wants to take on other people's problems. Like, you done made it this far. Like, are you a problem? Like, is there something? You know, am I really that lucky? Like, it's maybe like one of those kind of moments. Like, okay, then okay.
Duchesne, women.
Honestly, that's what I was thinking about when I said 30.
Okay.
Oh, you were thinking about.
So you think we're weird then? Oh, okay. I'm just joking.
I think past.
Because for a man, you know, my dad had me when he was 50, so you know.
Dang.
Honestly, you know.
Yeah, but so you think it's a fine for a man to not have kids up to 50?
No. I'm not saying it's just a simple fact. It's just a simple fact that we can have kids when we're older, so it's not really like a rush or anything like that for most guys. And not saying it's a rush for females as well. It's just that, you know, our biological clock just ain't ticking like theirs.
And I feel like that's starting to change. Look at Ashanti. She's like 42, 43.
43.
Like, look at Beyonce. So it's like, amazing. I hear you, but we're pushing that back. Like, we're pushing that stereotype that you have to have a baby by 30 back. Well, like, even when I talk to
women, I would say 33.
I would just honestly speaking to my, I'm just being honestly like speaking to my OBGYN, which I just want you to know she's black too. But yeah, so speaking to her, I felt like when I hit 30, like it was some pressure. Like I'm like, do I have to ever find a man? Like, do I have to ever like just have a baby? Because like my mom's giving me pressure, and she's like, Girl, no, I don't plan on having another. She has 2 kids, and she's like, I don't plan on having another baby until after I'm 40. And I'm like, oh, I got time because she's gonna get there before me.
But I think she's an exception in a way because she has kids already.
Yeah.
So do you want to
Yeah.
be 40 running
Because
around?
she has
No, I
children
don't.
already.
But I definitely want to pick the right mate because I've seen how. This is why I have singles capital because like I definitely see how, while being single, trying to rush something, you'll fall for anything. So for me, I'd rather slow down and get it right and make sure that I'm building off of something that's real. And even if something, you know, I ain't gonna lie, you could do all the building and planning you want to and things can crumble, God forbid. But if it does, I set up a foundation. I know what I set up is real because I want to be to the point. Like I think we looked at I don't know her name honestly, but I was looking at somebody, there was a celebrity, and I love the fact that she's not with her baby daddy ex-husband and they're like best friends. Like even though they got a whole divorce and looking at how people divorce and it's I hate you and that relationship in itself where he's there with the child and she comes home with her husband and ain't nobody care like what's going on. I just want to set up that beautiful dynamic. You know what I'm saying? Just saying.
Yeah. No, that's dope.
That's the dynamic you want to set up?
No, if it crumbles, I want to crumble in peace. But of course, I want to last forever. But I'm just saying, God forbid.
That's worst case scenario.
That's my worst case scenario, which is still beautiful. Like I don't want no problems. I don't want no smoke, y'all. None. So yeah. Any other questions before I get to another?
I mean, I have a question.
Go ahead.
What's your question, Leo?
So my question is, I was filming another podcast last night, and it was an interesting question. What are you looking like I done cheated on the podcast? No,
yes, he did, y'all.
Getting paid to do it. No, but the question I wanted to know is, do you believe that people should shack up before marriage?
Nice one. I'm gonna let you answer that one.
So as it relates to shacking up, I believe that there are some benefits to shacking up prior to marriage. I can see how everyone always talks about the downfalls. You know, so we know what those downfalls are, right? I think more so those downfalls are probably possibly taking on financial burden when maybe it turns out you all don't end up not wanting to get married and being in the long run. And there's also other, you know, downfalls that we know of. But as it relates to the benefits, I believe that there are some positive things about shacking up. So for example, you'll be able to see how that person lives, right? If they are messy, if they are, you know, dirty, if they are, because there's a difference.
Yes.
If they are morning people, if they're not, if they hygiene wise, how they carry themselves, and the things that around them. And I believe that also another benefit is being able to get in the routine. Sometimes I think that, like, I don't know, think about, like, it's so important when you are in a routine, so that way when you do get married, like, I think about, like, people moving in after they get married and, like, how sometimes because I'm not gonna lie, I've had that, you know, experience before where it was just like, oh my gosh, trying to figure out how to build this routine, and like
it's like a culture shock.
It's a huge culture shock.
And I think that's why back in the days they used to say that first year of marriage was the hardest
because right.
you were actually going from two separate lives and then just
putting it to one
together.
Right after one day.
Yeah.
After one day, we just merged.
It
was like like a cold turkey. Like bam, we here 1 to 100. Yeah.
And I think that, you know, in general, being able to have that experience of forming a routine, as we all know, when things are happening in a certain rhythm, there's balance, there's structure, we have a flow. When things hit that flow, we come back and say, okay, what's going on? Like, we got to reset. Yeah. And I think that's just helpful and positive to do. And, you know, I know some of you may disagree and have your feelings towards it, but I do believe that there are a lot more positives, in my opinion, than negatives when it comes to shacking up before marriage.
Yeah, I agree with all the topics you said.
Everything. I think you hit it over the head. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong, if you do that because of your faith or your belief, nobody's saying that that's not gonna work, right? I just feel that where I'm coming from, I've tried that before. Like, let me just wait. And it's like, okay, once that happened, I'm like, oh, this ain't gonna work. It's not gonna work because it's totally different. It's like sometimes you guys can be so close.
After once you felt that like feeling of like, oh, this isn't gonna work.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel when it was like, oh, but we have to do this? Like, did you?
So, if you get to the part where you guys have that lease, and I think that's where we're all at right now, then you're like, oh, dang, I'm gonna have to be with him to the lease break. Or like, how we gonna do this, right? Yeah. And especially at a time right now, ladies, I know a lot of us like, yeah, I'm gonna still wait to the lease break. I can't do that. My mental peace,
your peace
it'd be too real.
I always say I value my peace of mind more than anything.
More than money or anything.
Talk about it. Yes. Hello, that's for the people in the back. You know, the conscious ones know you gotta value that peace sometimes over money. Yes. You know, because money is gonna come and go. Yeah. And you're gonna get back opportunities and stuff like that.
That's what I was telling you about the job.
But I think that for sure. You know, in when it comes to shacking up in general. Yeah. I feel like there are some like guidelines though, for sure. Yeah. For example,
let's put some restrictions on it.
For example, I think you all should just be honest about like what do you expect moving in together, right? Because bless my man, child. Because honestly and truly, I think some people would say, I might expect you to cook this amount of meals. You know, you need to know that before moving in. Yeah. If you feel like who's gonna balance out the chores in the home, those are conversations that need to be had prior to discussing, you know, moving in or going towards that direction, and just being honest about like, okay, how do you feel about company? Are you one of those people who don't really care for too much company? And it's just like, hey, if your family comes time and time, that's cool. Or if you're one of those people who you're super social, you might want people over. All of those are extremely important to discuss.
And also, I think it's good to be honest about finances. And not just like the bills being split, but how are you with your finances? Are you do you waste your money other places where it can affect hinder you paying your parts of the bills? So that's an important conversation to have.
It's
a tough conversation.
I think
that's true.
I think both of you guys said two key things that I want to replay back for the audience. Is the first thing what you said was that you need to have these conversations. I know they probably get tired of me saying, you got to have these conversations before, okay? Like, there's no... way before, okay? Like, at this point, this man done seen you naked. You done seen her naked. Like, y'all done shared the most intimate vibes. So, like, I would not be nothing uncomfortable. Like, how we going to make this work before going into it? Because if you have issues before going into it, why are we even going into it?
And I think I love that you talked about finance because I totally skipped over that part. But that's so important because honestly, you know, I think when it comes to just finances, I think sometimes a lot of people are like a little bit, I wouldn't say uncomfortable, just nervous and kind of feel a little shame about having those discussions. Especially, I would say some women, some men out there too. Yeah. Where you're not being honest about like, hey, this is my budget and this is what I can do and bring to the table. And as for you women as well, you know, if whatever your contribution is, whatever that may be, because, you know, we're not going to do the 50-50 talk. We're not getting into that. We'll be here all day. And I'm tired of that discussion, exhausted. So I think that in general, just being honest about your hey, finances, like, this is my budget, and being okay with that budget, and not letting it sway because you're trying to please this person or whatever the case may be.
You're throwing out so many gems.
For me, I'm not gonna lie to you. When you said shacking up, maybe I just had a negative connotation to it. But for me, when you said shacking up, to me, it just came out like, when I think of shacking up, it's like people are trying to avoid these conversations. You get what I'm saying? You just putting yourself.
No, we're having these conversations.
No, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you intend for people.
Yeah.
But for me, when people shack up, it's like they're trying to avoid these conversations, so they just get into a situation and they just deal with it as they're in there. And now that's what happens with a lot of people. They get stuck in that situation that now we're in it, and I actually see how you work with your money. I actually see how you work with your time, whether or socially or whatever the case is. And there's no turning back now. We're already in the situation. So I ain't gonna lie. When I heard, because in my mind, if you are having these conversations, you're being purposeful. You're not shacking up.
You're being intentional.
You're being intentional. So you're not shacking up. Like we get into this, we're gonna execute it. We're gonna have the proper mindset. Of course, things might change. Life happens, or whatever the case is. But if you're going in with the right mindset, I don't know. I just don't feel like shacking up is the right terminology.
I like that. I like that. You're just because of the negative connotation it's tied to that word. I think maybe wanting to find, you feel comfortable maybe saying like living together before marriage versus shacking up. Because back in the day, how like how
they see it,
older folks used to say it. They used to be disgusted, child.
But that's what it was, though.
But this is exactly it. Even
but I think because it's like, back then, oh my God, see we see it all circle back to this little conversation that whole internet's always trying to have, which is, back in the day, I think maybe people had the mindset of having to shack up and like get stuck in situations because back then a lot of the men specifically were carrying the financial burden of the entire family and home, while other parts and other people had to kind of just, oh, well, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to ruffle the feathers. Like, he's doing everything. I got to just take this. I can't really say too much. Now, we are in a generation.
You a whole lot, boy.
Now we're in a generation.
Don't act like that.
To me, I feel like if you are a woman who's contributing in your household, and your partner finds what you're contributing is valuable, whether that be financial contributions or whatever, whatever floats your boat, whatever works for whoever. I just feel like once you're considered someone who's contributing in the household, you don't have to do the shacking up thing, because it's like, I know when I'm contributing and I'm helping with getting these bills paid too, you know. So I definitely think that idea, that mindset older people would have in their mind about shacking up or living together before marriage, they thought of it because of how they had to deal with living together and like what came with living together before marriage. And even then, we see so many times how people have been in marriages and almost felt stuck and had to deal with certain things. And I'm not obviously saying that about all marriages. I'm just speaking in general about how like certain women had to deal with certain things, and I feel like that's where the negative connotation, I'm ranting at this point, that's where the negative connotation, I believe, kind of started with shacking up and like why people are like, against it.
I think the next thing to go back to when we were talking about financial, and to definitely finish up my point on that, I think the biggest thing is, after you having that conversation, having that open space to rehab that conversation again if something was to happen. I think a lot of the times, let's just talk about not whatever your situation, but the time where the man holds more of the burden, because I'm doing more talking to men and women. I think it's opened up my mind so much, because I feel like once the man takes on the burden of, I'm gonna pay all the bills in the house and I'm gonna do this, I think a lot of women may just think like, he's Superman, like he's just gonna always have it. And there's sometimes a man do stumble up and he has a problem with paying the bills and he doesn't want to bring it up to his lady, and she may still want things like, I still want to go out to my dinners, I'm still, babe, can I borrow some money? And it's like he's trying to hold down, like, I'm that man and I gotta hold it down, and versus being him true, like, babe, can you help me pay with the bills a little bit until I catch back up? And some men will just drown. And then when that happens, it causes issues within the relationship. And the women is trying to understand, like, why are you so mad in this? And he thinks of it as like, she feels like I ain't doing nothing right, but it's really the fact that it's just a financial situation and he just haven't had, I don't know if it's I don't really know because I'm not a man, but he doesn't have that enough confidence to come to his woman to be like, babe.
Yeah, and I'm
struggling.
I think, and that's why we got to be very careful about who we choose as partners, because I really think it's so important in just any relationship, whether that be intimate or just friendship, that you are very honest and can come to that person and say, like, hey, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like this is too much for me, or like, or I'm very honest, like we talked about that earlier, about just being honest about what you like expect or help. But I think also, if you can't come to your partner and tell your partner when you are like, I'm at wit's end, I'm on E. Like, it's not full tank right now. And being able to say that before it gets too late. And just being understanding that, hey, when you aren't in the best place, having those open discussions and saying, like, hey, babe, we got to cut back on certain things. This is the situation. If that's something that person isn't able to do, being able to say, hey, I'm not, I told you already, if the next month you continue to do these things, you're going to have to contribute and put forth this amount. And just being able to take that accountability and put that accountability on the person, and them being able to take it and receive it. So that way you're not in a situation like you just stated. Like, just men, please, especially our black men, please be honest and start being honest and having these conversations with your women about, like, contributions and, like, what do you feel is, like, appropriate for you to be able to handle. And when you come into a situation where it's just like, hold on, things are not working out the way I planned, being able to say something before it gets to the point of, like, oh crap, it's a month or 2 months and we might not be able to, handle some of our bills or take care of some of the things that we normally are able to.
I agree. Duchesne?
Yeah. All right. So I don't have a straightforward question here. It ain't formulated in my head fully. But I'm like, let's talk about, like, in regards to what you just said, like the leadership roles in a relationship, because I hate when people say back in the day things is like this, but I guess I got to use it right now. But like you said, back in the day, more so the man went out and worked and he made the money. So at the end of the day, I'm making money. I'm making the rules in this house. And if you have a boss or something like that, and obviously the boss runs the business, and you can come to your boss with suggestions, you can point things out that are going wrong, you can point him in a different direction or whatever the case is. But at the end of the day, the boss is the boss. In relationships right now, because the man and the woman are going out to work and they both are making their own money and contribution to the relationship, it's the deaf leading the blind. You get what I'm saying? And I maybe that's not the right terminology, saying it's definitely in the blind, but it's just it's a power struggle.
Okay, I like power struggle better.
It's a major
because I do believe that the power struggle thing is something I think we all can kind of like take and like say, hey, like I do see that, or I've heard of that, or maybe have experienced that. So when you say that, is the question that you're asking? Are you asking how does that work when it comes to leadership roles?
Yes, like how do we manage that, like nowadays in relationships where both the man and the woman are working and they're both contributing to the household
financially,
and for the most part financially in decision making, because like how I imagine in my head and how things should work is that at the end of the day, me being the man, because it's not just about finances for me, it's about also protection and guidance, and it's I don't want to put women in a certain light, but females might be a little more free spirited in what they want to do and things like this. And me as a man, sometimes I'm like, all right, we might have to chill and not be able to do everything or whatever the case is. So it's not just about finance, it's also just about guiding the relationship and the family and etc.
Leading.
Yeah. So the struggle comes in when in my experience, females can be can sometimes be combative. You get what I'm saying?
Combative.
Maybe combative might not be the right word.
Yeah, because you saw how I looked at him. I was like,
listen.
Leo's clearing his throat. He's like, I am, you know what? You're talking and there's so many parts about it that I'm like, I get it. Yeah. Like the words you're using, may not be, only combative. That's the only one. That's the only word. Yeah. But I get what you're saying. How can we, in just relationships, if the man is leading, right, but both of you all are contributing to the like you said, not just financially, but contributing in a way, both opinions are very valuable and should be heard. But after the opinions are heard, we have to, from my clinical expertise, I would say that being okay, first of all, being okay with understanding, even though one person in the relationship wants to lead, whoever that person might be, because some people have different ways about leadership, but as you're talking more so from the European Western culture idea of the man leading, and even if the woman is contributing in any type of way financially to the household, how do we kind of say, okay, I would say, I hope this doesn't sound too cliche. I think that women, we naturally have this thing about us where we want men to lead. Oh, trust me. Yeah. We want you all to lead. Yes. Very much so. I know sometimes it doesn't give that. We really do. But I think in the way that you lead, I think it's very, sometimes women can feel like, if you're putting me in a position where my voice isn't heard, you're not understanding, or you're not even taking into consideration and saying, hey, babe, I hear what you're saying about that, but don't you think it might be a better idea if we go with my idea due to the A, B, and C? I think if you just kind of explain to us that you understood us and you heard what we were talking about, I think you can lead us in that way to where we're like, okay, yes, you had the better idea, babe. I think you should just lead the whole thing, and I understand what you mean. But I think sometimes when it's just like dismissing our feelings, or just not wanting to hear, our side of what we think is valuable, then I think that's when you might feel like the woman is giving that type of aggressive, or maybe feeling of like, I wouldn't say aggressive, I would say she is being resistant to allowing you to lead, or allowing the man to lead in that situation. So I would say, in order to reduce that resistance, I would say making it comfortable to telling your partner like, hey, I understand and I hear what you're saying, and I really value that, but right now, babe, this is not helpful or beneficial. So what we got to do? So allow me to do what I need to do, and I haven't and also reassure her. Have I failed you yet? Have I steered you in the wrong direction? Was there any moment where you didn't feel secure and safe with me? And then when you say that, and maybe you have to say it a couple of times, but after the second and third time, it's like, okay, girl, I'm not explaining, and then it's just like, oh yeah, she understands it, she gets with the program, So I think that reassurance is extremely important, and then being able to hit those marks with us and let us know, like, have I ever steered you wrong? Am I not always in protective mode and keep you secure? And I think that is honestly, those check marks is what a woman needs to just say, hey, go ahead, babe, lead. Because at that moment, a lot of my women can agree to this, or some of my women may agree. When you're like, when we're with our man and we feel 100% secure, and we allow him to lead at most moments.
Have a great day.
You not worrying about your purse, my phone. At least me, like when I'm you know, for the people who are 21 and up, when I'm lit and I'm outside, I'm like, and it's not anything about being like forgetful. It's just having that trust and faith that this person is leading me, whether that if I'm lit or if I'm not lit. I'm just walking. I'm not looking at the street. I'm just crossing with
free.
him. I'm like,
I'm free.
Child, a car gonna come and he gonna be on that side, because guess what? I'm never gonna be walking on that side of the street. So when it comes to allowing your partner, your man, to lead, I do believe women, we have to be listen, and we have to ask ourselves, has he ever put me in a dangerous situation or harm's way to where I was, and that's probably why I struggle with people leading in relationships. Let me go do that self-work and figure out what I need to fix with that, so that way I could come into a situation and feel confident in allowing my man to lead.
I think you said it greatly, but I also, just to jump on, I feel like, coming to your term, I feel like that woman has to honestly trust you. If that woman doesn't trust you, you can't lead me until you get that trust. So a couple of the responses you said does build that trust. Like, okay, have you ever did something? Okay, maybe reality is, no, you haven't. That will help me ease up to trust you more. But if that woman doesn't, I know you guys thought I was like, I be saying that so much, but trust goes a long way for you to feel up to that point to do that. And another thing, in order for you to be able to be a leader, it's not just because you have balls and you're just a man. The only way you can lead me is off. I'm just being honest, because this is what you're going to get in the feedback in the comments, and these women are going to be defensive and be like, why you think only because he a man? So it has to be something more to that. You have to show that you can lead, and a leader, to show that you can lead. And if you were in a leadership position, let's just go back into a job role, because I think it's easier for people to swallow in that role. That person who's leading, that boss, takes other supervisors, takes other people's opinions before making a decision. If you are not able to work with your other colleagues, everybody would slaughter you.
That's why I talked about you cannot dismiss a person's feelings. You have to hear them. You have to say, okay, I understand what you were saying, and I hear your points, and some may be valid, or babe, this is not conductive to what we got going on. But being able to say it in a way where it doesn't come off as it's my way or the highway.
Exactly.
You know.
But go ahead, Shane. I feel like you about to come with it. So come with it, because you already got the gloves off. Go ahead.
No, I'm good. I'm here. I'm listening.
No, but what you have to say?
It's that saying of like, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And like I said, but at the same time, I'm not going to say it them 3 times after I told you, have I not steered you, or have I not put you in a position? And I've shown and proven that over the course of the years we've been together. You know, then I think that at that point, that person just doesn't trust in you and trust you to lead them, and they have to do some, you know, maybe work with that, you know, on their own, and figure out why that may be the case. Because a lot of the times, a lot of reasons why we struggle with certain things in relationships, or we're hitting roadblocks when it comes to like certain aspects or parts of our relationships, right? Because there's different parts of relationships. I think it's because I think it's a lot of the times things happen to us in our childhood. And we're growing, and we're just like, okay, those things happen. Life is still lifing. I still got to move. And then something happens in our adulthood, and then like, we're like, ooh, I didn't address that. When it happened around that time, and like, you're now having to like work through that while dealing with reality of like who you are as an adult, and it's a lot. So anyone, you know, ladies and gentlemen, like, if you're noticing and you're having multiple relationships, and you're realizing those things are constantly happening in the relationships, or people are telling you like, hey, why you do this, or why you always do that, just please try to go back and, you know, reach out to anyone, if it's a therapist, whoever you need to speak to, and kind of see like, do you need to kind of address some of those unaddressed issues from your childhood that may be resurfacing as an adult, and it's just a lesson you have not learned, and you just keep revisiting it.
So the thing with me with the chivalry thing, right? I always feel like you have to be your true self, right?
Yes.
If it's not in you, it's not in you, right? If you're doing this because you're just doing this just to impress the lady, as obviously for men, opening car doors and stuff like that. If you're doing that to impress them, eventually when you stop doing that, it's going to be noticed because you were pretending.
It's gonna be a problem.
But I've also recently come to the realization, especially now after you said it, is that I feel like it's still somewhat the woman's responsibility, not really, but that's the only word I can think of right now, to kind of make sure that he continues to do it. So
we have so many
she comes to the door, she stands there and she looks at him like, so that way it becomes a habit, because you have some habits you have to build, even if they're good or bad, because bad habits
train that boy,
right? So you build that habit. So I still think that even though if it's not in them, they can be trained.
Yeah.
Because
I feel like
I agree. I agree for sure.
I feel like as we get older, like I know a lot of me be like, yeah, I ain't finna open the door because that's not in me. But it's like, but you have a mom, and not even that you have a mom. Like as you get older, don't you want to see that you're that gentleman opening the car door for your woman? Like y'all don't want to like put that out there in the atmosphere. So it's just like, to me, it's like,
I mean, I think sometimes when those people say that, I feel like y'all are not dating no one worth you feel is worthy enough to open doors and do the things that will require you to. And I agree with you as well, like, where it's like, you should also demand and require a person to like, hey, do it, by whatever that may be, giving them a look or waiting for them to do it and saying, hey, I thought you were gonna open the door, I thought you were gonna do that. But I definitely think that those people, or especially men who say that, it's just like, if you don't think none of those girls you're dating or talking to is worthy of that, and that maybe you need to switch up the pool, so that way you're like, oh yeah, because you gonna meet a girl and you gonna be like, oh, I don't even want you touching that, or sometimes it's funny. Like I love how, being a New Yorker, we're extremely, especially New York women, independent, and like just having this mentality at young, like, don't look at me, you're a weirdo, like I don't know you, and not like, no, I'm just being honest. Being a child. So when you grow up as a young woman, sometimes if you weren't raised, like for me, I love the fact that I was raised down south and up north, because I understand and appreciate generosity and like chivalry so much from men, because I was able to live down south and understand, oh, stop trying to be in a rush to get out, or gotta get out of this situation, or make sure you allow him to do this. So there's little moments, or like really, really tiny in my relationship now, where I'll just be like on the phone or something, and I'm with my partner and I'm not paying attention, and I'll like reach, and he'll be like, don't you play with me, don't open that door, and I'll be like, I'm sorry, like I those are checks. Like I love that he checks me, like, wait, like you bugging, you on the phone, you tripping, you don't you normally don't know, you don't open doors. But I think that, like I said, having to like bring up that background childhood piece, sometimes you would think like, oh, maybe that's not necessarily, like, I'm not saying it's not, some women may possibly feel like it's not necessarily important, but I love that being able to live in both places, I understand it is important. It is. Like it is, point blank, period. It is.
And I'm not saying,
those little things.
I don't feel like he has to do it for me like every time.
No. I agree with you with that.
We going out, we stepping out.
Yeah, but it's the moments where it's like, we stepping out. Right.
You open that car door.
It's like,
you open the first door.
Dress.
Dinner dates and stuff like that, but not grocery store run.
You know what he wants to know? You know what?
I'm just saying.
Grocery stores. Doors are automatic.
Yes.
No, run.
No, run to the car door. He's talking about like
car door,
the side of the car to open the
door. We going to Publix.
We both.
No. I agree. If we're going to Publix and we're making a quick run, we're like, babe, come on, let's go to Starbucks real quick, get something. We're just hurrying up and trying to get there. Like I'm not expecting you to open my door before we go in.
How did that sound?
We both got to get there, and then I'm yelling at you like, turn on the AC.
By the time you get around, like, you just disappear. He passed out.
No, I already grabbed the key. Like, oh,
hello. Why you? No, but we're talking about, and I'm glad you mentioned that specifically. Just being able to say when it comes to dressing and stepping out. Like as women, we put so much effort from it, the lotion we put on our skin,
and like the glitter, we gotta put on the glitter lotion after,
because now it's body glitter. You got the smell goods, making sure we are just
100 and you everything. Can't just open a door.
So when it comes to those types of situations, yes, for sure, we're waiting.
The one thing I do want to add to that, for me at least, not every man is like this. Each, different strokes for different folks.
Yes.
Gas me up, like how you said you do.
Yes.
Like whatever the case is, gas me up.
Yes.
Whatever the case is, gas
say it. Like tell me. Like why?
You ain't even gotta say it loud. Just or do something.
Yeah. A little give me a notion. Give me a notion that you appreciate it, or that this is your vibe. Like you see me. I see you. Yes, I love that. And come on, like
I think it's nice because then you be in the car and you be like, let me caress him a little bit. Like he put on for me. And
I think that I'm so big on body language and just non-verbal cues, right? Because like I didn't say much, but when I said, when black people, when we said that, or like, okay, like we knew that you did something when I said that, like whatever you did, keep doing it, like and I think everybody deserves to get gas, especially in your relationship, friendship, or I really do appreciate when you can call someone, or not even just call someone, but whoever you're with, and even in a relationship where y'all could gas each other up and be each other's biggest supporters, to where it's like even when y'all get into disagreements and arguments, they're about like petty stuff, but you all aren't coming at each other's character. Like I feel like that's extremely important, because if we're gassing each other up and we're supporting each other, what help does it do to tear each other down? Like we can all improve and work on ourselves. And I believe it or not, a therapist, yes, myself, have to work on things in my relationships. And I just love that when you are in a confident and positive relationship, you all don't have to tear each other down. You can gas each other up and be and when you do have to say something like, oh, you tried me, you could say it where it's a way like, all right, I'm tripping, my bad.
So thank you guys for joining for another episode. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel as well. Don't forget to like and share. Signing off, this is your girl Lex, and this is my co-host. And
your boy Duchesne.
All right, you guys have a good night.
Stay blessed.
Bye.
Blessed.